I remember the first time my family laughed at me like it was yesterday. I was standing in the middle of the living room, clutching a tattered notebook filled with sketches, ideas, and dreams that they told me I'd never realize. Dreams they called ridiculous, impossible, and worse, an embarrassment to the family. Their words cut deeper than any cut, sharper than any rejection, because they had been there when I envisioned a future beyond the concrete, beyond the job I'd once lost everything for. They'd seen me chase something that, to them, had no real money, no prestige, just a crazy, hopeless obsession with ancient seeds and lost ecosystems. "You're wasting your life," my father snewed, voice thick with contempt. "Heritage seeds, that's a fairy tale. You're an urban planner, Maya. You should be fixing real problems, not playing gardener with old stories. You're going to fail, and I'll be ashamed to call you my daughter." My mother's eyes welled with tears, not from pride, but from disappointment. "Why can't you be practical? We sacrificed so much for you to have a good future. And now? You're just throwing it all away on some silly fantasy." And so I packed up my dreams and left. Not because I lacked courage, but because I couldn't bear to be their disappointment anymore. I buried that part of myself deep inside, focusing instead on rebuilding my career, climbing back after the disgrace of being framed and ousted from my top-tier urban planning job. But even as I worked, even as I gained respect in my field for spearheading projects that brought neighborhoods to life, a part of me always longed for something more, something meaningful, rooted in the past and for the future. Years later, I returned to my hometown, not as the girl who once stuttered under their ridicule, but as someone who had defied every expectation. My work with heritage seed conservation had grown into a movement. I had transformed abandoned lands into thriving ecosystems, restoring lost biodiversity, fighting food insecurity, and rekindling hope in neglected communities. My efforts had earned awards, funding, and the respect I'd been denied, loud and undeniable. But what I longed for was to see their reactions firsthand, to show them that their doubts had been wrong, that I had become what they said I never could. It wasn't about revenge. It was about redemption, about proving that sometimes the greatest success comes from the most unlikely beginnings. So I pulled into the driveway of that old house, feeling a tumult of nerves and determination. I wasn't just returning as a success. I was returning as a force that would silence their skepticism once and for all. They were gathered in the yard, as if waiting for me. My father's face was stern, his eyes narrowing as I stepped out of the car. My mother looked uncertain, her usual warmth tinged with a strange mixture of curiosity and lingering doubt. My sister was there too, her smirk trying to hide what I knew was a mixture of envy and disbelief. Without a word, I carried a box, the first of many, filled with heritage seeds I'd propagated, carefully collected over years. I started walking toward the small patch of barren soil behind the house, an area I'd claimed as my own, a symbol of transformation. I could see their eyes, watching me, waiting for the inevitable. Then I knelt, planting the first seed. I explained softly, "This seed is from a variety that's been around for centuries. It's hardy, resilient. They've survived droughts, pests, wars. They carry stories of hope and survival. They're not just seeds. They're history, community, resilience. My family watched in silence, skepticism thick in the air. Then I turned to them, voice firm, unwavering. I've made these lands bloom again. I've fed communities that and preserved the piece of our heritage that was almost lost. I've built something out of what you told me was pointless, and I'm not stopping. The days that followed were filled with planting, nurturing, and revealing what I'd built. I brought in experts, modern agronomists, scientists, community leaders. They validated everything I'd done, testified to the importance of heritage seeds, and showed tangible results. Lush fields where once there was barren ground, communities thriving with fresh, safe food, lives transformed by what many called outdated and unscientific. And then came the moment that rewrote everything. My father, once so dismissive, standing beside me as we watched a group of children pick ripe vegetables from the garden I'd created. Some of those vegetables came from seeds I'd saved myself, seeds they'd ridiculed as quaint or useless. He looked at the children, then at me. His face, etched with years of skepticism, softened. I didn't think it would work, he admitted low, almost to himself. I thought you'd erase him. I thought you were wasting your time. But I see now. You were right all along. Tears welled in his eyes, and suddenly I felt the weight of every cruel word they'd thrown at me, every laugh at my expense. Their faces, once so dismissive, now looked at me with a mixture of shame, awe, and undeniable respect. That moment was not just about proving them wrong. It was about claiming my truth, the truth they refused to see for so long. About transforming their doubts into acceptance, and their ridicule into pride. And most importantly, about realizing that perseverance, authenticity, and unwavering belief in oneself can turn the impossible into reality. As I left that house that day, I carried with me a deep sense of peace, the kind that comes from knowing I had finally, fully become what I was always meant to be. And I understood something profound. Our greatest failures and mockeries are often just the dark soil from which our greatest triumphs grow. Now, I sit here, sharing this story, knowing that every single person listening has a seed within them. Maybe it's a dream they've been told is foolish. Maybe it's a hope they've hidden away. But I promise you, like my heritage seeds, with patience and persistence, it can grow into something magnificent. Because in the end, success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become along the way. And I've become someone I can finally be proud of. Someone who proved that even from the harshest skepticism, resilience and faith in oneself can yield a harvest that feeds the soul. And that, my friends, is the priceless beauty of redemption.